like all Americans, is very concerned about how Muslim Americans particularly, as well as generally the general American population, can protect itself. You know, what do we need to do to prepare ourselves in the event a terrorist activity is about to occur? How do we communicate with law enforcement? What do we do in the event that even people we may know might be suspicious in the sense of behaving in extreme ways? And by that I mean talking about, well, you know, this suicide bombing is the right thing to do, and therefore we have to support them, and that causes alarm. And so I think that Muslim Americans themselves are subject to being victimized by terrorism, as we witnessed throughout the entire world, that Muslims themselves are fearful of terrorists and thus have a great desire to protect their families here in the United States or even abroad.
Sheriff, you mentioned in the L.A. Times, you were quoted in the L.A. Times as saying that you would like the Muslim community to serve as the eyes and ears of law enforcement and to alert the law enforcement of any potential criminal acts. The question to you two gentlemen, what do you mean, what do you think he means by the eyes and ears of the community?
I don't think the sheriff is expecting American Muslims to do more than what he expects every American to do, and I think he specifically mentioned that.
Well, the best-run neighborhoods are the eyes and ears of the general public who live in that neighborhood.
I think it's exactly, and it goes without saying, it's for granted that every American citizen, everyone who lives in America, should become the eyes and the ears of protection and the safety for this country and their community.
But Hussam, in light of what took place in London, what took place because of the cartoon situation, and a lot of things are going on, what do you think he means in terms of? I
think we're all very concerned when we look at Europe and we see the riots in France, we see the bombing, the July bombings in London, and we see a sense of isolation that exists within the immigrant community, including the Muslim immigrant community in Europe, which is, fortunately, thank God, we don't see in America. But I think with a visionary aspect of things and looking at things in a preventive eye, and the sheriff and the Muslim community itself realize that we don't want to wait until we have to worry about this sense of isolation in the Muslim community. So what we wanted to do is create a sense of cooperation, change the paradigm, where what we have today between American Muslims and the larger community, between American Muslims and the law enforcement community, is a sense of cooperation, a sense of partnership, mutual understanding, and I think that's what he meant.
Well, from the neighborhood standpoint, what do you think he means by the eyes and ears? Does he mean you have to spy on your neighbor? Does that mean you have to turn people in if you see something that's taking place that you feel could be something that the law enforcement people should know about? What are your thoughts about that, Syed?
Look, we don't need to form a Congress to do that. People are expected to do that, and people will do that, and people have done that if and when they feel something otherwise has happened in the neighborhood. The goal of the Congress is really to build bridges between the law enforcement and the communities through reciprocal understanding and education of each other, where the law enforcement would not look at Muslim as a suspect first and innocent later until after proven otherwise. And this is the whole premise of the Congress, to establish a relationship between the communities and the law enforcement.
Sheriff?
Yes.
Because of law enforcement, because of what you have to handle in terms of crime in the communities, the eyes and ears, what are your thoughts about that? When you said that, what do you mean by eyes and ears?
Well, I think I mean it in the broadest sense possible, which is this. Public safety is every American's responsibility, as my colleagues are saying. And we here in America are a very diverse part of the world. In fact, America is diversity capital of the world. Thus, what we're saying is that many Muslim Americans, when 9/11 occurred, that own businesses, that essentially we have over 100 Pakistani Americans who are Muslims owning 7-Eleven stores, that their customers were sneering at them on occasions. Well, you must be very happy with what's happened on 9/11. And this has been very offensive to them. So the idea is not only to help law enforcement in the general sense, but it's also to protect themselves from any form of hate crime or inappropriate commentary by people who will lash out against the Muslim American community. The first concern I had after 9/11 was that many people who are Muslim Americans would feel as though they're being targeted in some vengeful way. And I think that all of us know this, that if you're part of an immigrant society, and we have many immigrant societies in America, the first place you fear is law enforcement. You're wondering, am I being singled out because I happen to be of a particular appearance or have a particular look on my face that somebody in law enforcement doesn't?
Or how you dress, etc.
Pardon me?
Or how you dress.
Or how you dress. And so as a result, I want the Muslim American community, number one, to feel that they're going to receive 100% public safety services from law enforcement at large. What that does is you have a good relationship, is that it takes away the motivation for extremism. And extremism comes about from a variety of reasons. One, it comes about, as we learned in London, that there's no mainstreaming of the society that's Muslim there to the extent that's necessary, particularly the youth.
You know what, Sheriff, we have to go to a break. When we come back, you gave me a nice segue, because we are going to talk about the London experience. But before we go on to the break, you're talking about a